Thank you to the panel. Ms. Bickert, much of the public discussion is focused on Facebook's moderation practices. But there's a compelling argument that the real problem is not the quality of your moderation policies or the nature of the algorithm, but the underlying business model, your scale, and your power. And while you clearly have an obligation to remove certain content, for example, incitement to violence or hate speech, I'm not at all enthusiastic about huge multinational tech companies becoming the arbiters of legitimate speech and expression, especially when the decisions about what you may boost or suppress algorithmically are often made in secret and under heavy pressure from politicians and advertisers and public opinion. So on the subject of your scale and your power, I'd like to ask, does Facebook anticipate that it will embark on further acquisitions of competitor services in light of the suit that you're already facing from the FTC and a number of state attorneys general alleging that your acquisitions of Instagram and WhatsApp constituted anti-competitive activity?
Senator, thank you for the question. Of course, I can't comment on any litigation. I can tell you, because I'm responsible for our content policies and a lot of what we do around moderation, that we do take very seriously both the balance between expression and safety, but also the need for transparency. And so with, for instance, our algorithm, over the past few years, we have put out a number of blog posts and other communications where we've actually given the inputs for what goes into the ranking algorithm. We've explained how any significant ranking changes. We've introduced this tool where on any post on Facebook, you can click on it and go under why am I seeing this post, and it'll tell you why that's appearing in your newsfeed where it is. And then significantly, we have made it more visible how you can opt out of that newsfeed ranking algorithm. So if people just want to see their content in reverse chronological order, excuse me.
Yeah, respectfully, and I greatly appreciate your response, and I heard some of these points earlier in the hearing, and I'm not asking you to comment on any specific litigation. And to be clear, my point is actually that everything you just said about improving the quality of your moderation practices, disclosing some of the decisions underlying the algorithm are not the root issue. The root issue is that Facebook has too much power. And one company perhaps should not be such a massive gatekeeper that determines what ideas prosper and what ideas don't. And that's why the question that I asked was, does Facebook anticipate that it will embark on any further acquisitions of competitor services?
Senator, acquisitions is really not my area at all. I'm focused on content. I can tell you though, from where I sit, from my perspective, it is a highly competitive space. And I know that not only from, being an executive working on content at Facebook, but also being the parent of two teenage daughters, both of whom use social media. And there are a lot of services out there that people use. Nevertheless, I do think it's really important that we recognize that these content moderation rules are really important, and we have to be very transparent about what they are so people can make informed choices about whether or not they want to use our services.
Thank you, Ms. Bickert. Ms. Bickert, Apple's recent iOS update will require apps to seek additional explicit authorization from users in order for those apps, presumably some of your products included, to continue tracking users across the internet. Tracking cookies and other technologies allow Facebook and other entities to monitor virtually all of their users' web browsing activity. I want to commend Apple for taking this step and ask whether you will take significant steps in the short term to reduce your tracking, your ubiquitous tracking of your users' web activity, location data, the technology that they use, and whether you will consider extending the feature that allows the removal of personal data from Facebook to include the removal of personal data, not just from Facebook, but from any entities to whom Facebook sold such data, and including in your contracts with those to whom you sell data, a provision that they must delete all data that they've purchased from Facebook at the command of the user. So again, it's two questions. Will you follow Apple's lead in ceasing tracking of users across the web? And will you include in contracts with those to whom you sell data a provision requiring them to permanently delete and verify the deletion of all data you've sold to them about any user who activates the Facebook feature to remove their data from Facebook? Thank you so much.
Senator, thank you for the question. First, let me be really clear. We don't sell user data. That's not the way our advertising works. The way that it works is an advertiser selects from among different targeting criteria, and then we deliver that ad to a relevant audience. And we can follow up with more details on how that works. With respect to controls, I know we have introduced controls around people's off Facebook experience. I'm not an expert in that area. There are those at the company who are, so I can get that information and follow up with you.
Thank you, Ms. Bickert. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator.